Welcome to Module 1, Lesson 4. We are going to talk some more about equivalent ratios. Alright, so the first thing I want you to do, in your student workbooks, you'll see you have example 1, and it talks about library books. The question here is, in the morning announcements, it said that 2 out of every 7 sixth graders in the school have an overdue library book. Jasmine said, that would mean 24 of us have overdue books. Grace argued, no way, that is way too high. How can you determine who is right? So what I want you to think of, we're not going to solve this one here, what I want you to think of and come back to class with is, what would you need to know in order to solve this problem? Right, so there's a piece of information that you would have to know in order to figure out how to solve this problem and who would be correct. So just somewhere around this problem, I want you to write down what you would need to know. So what do we need to know? Right, and when you come back to class, we're going to talk a little bit more about this one. Right, so here we have exercise 1. This is also in your student workbook. In exercise 1, I want you to decide whether or not each of the following pairs of ratios is equivalent or not. Remember, in order for ratios to be equivalent, you have to do the same thing to both numbers. So I want you to pause, and when you come back, we'll check your answers. All right, so if you take a look here, you have 6 to 11 and 42 to 88. In this case, 6 to 42 would be times 7. So that would mean that 11 times 7 would have to give you 88. Since that's not the case, we know that these two are not equivalent. And then 0 to 5 and 0 to 20. Since 0 times 4 gives you 0, I have to check the bottom and see, does 0 times 5 give me 20? Since it does, we can say that both 0 to 5 and 0 to 20 are equivalent ratios. Again, they're much like equivalent fractions where when you look at them, you have to make sure you do the same thing to the first number that you do to the second number. So you have to multiply by that same number when you're looking to find out whether or not they are equivalent. So like I said before, this is a fairly easy video for you to start off with, but this one I really want you to start thinking. What would I need to know? Okay, I'm not asking you to solve. What would I need to know in order to solve this question? You can also start to think about how you would solve this question, but there's a really important piece of information that we need to know in order to solve this question. Right, so when you come back tomorrow, I want you to have it written down. What do we need to know? And then we'll go from there in class.